Like the second window we noted before, it's shorter because of the shrine here, or because of the confessional. In this case, there is no history medallion at the bottom, and there is no prophet from the Old Testament. Those have been replaced by the second gospel representation, in this case, St. Mark. His symbol most people know as the lion, and it also, from the book of Revelation, has those 6 wings and eyes. Above that now, outlined in blue, the central medallion in this narrative of the life of Christ is the Sermon on the Mount. In this case, Jesus in red in the center, surrounded by blue. He has kneeling, if we look closely, above each of his shoulders to the right and left, there are 3 kneeling apostles. So we have 6 above him, and then down below, just above the wings of the lion, we have 6 more of these 12 apostles. They're all kneeling, they're all present, and then around Christ, as he's speaking, they said he was seated, which he is here. He is speaking with the crowds. That leads us to an additional piece of information because it's associated with the Sermon on the Mount. We have the Beatitudes on the ceiling of this church, beginning at the back, on these traverse beams that go all the way across. They are painted with the 8 Beatitudes. Wood of the cross narrative, which takes place at the very top in the archway, we have probably one of the more unusual ones, this one and the next window. It actually says Sibylla, who we will call a prophetess. In this case, when she looks to cross the wood that's been discarded by Solomon, it's laying across a stream. When she goes to cross that stream, her clothing catches on fire. She sees, as a prophetess, she sees bad omens in the future for this wood, can't quite explain it, but won't cross the wood because her clothing has caught on fire as she touches her feet to the wood. And you can see the little flames all around her, which represent her clothing catching on fire when she goes to step on that wood. The last large window, number 6 on this east side of the church, is also tall, which means it includes all 3 of the narratives that we've spoken of before. Beginning with the central narrative, we have Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. It's a perfect prelude to the Easter story, which will be on the other side of the church. The central medallion, again, at the same level as each of the other windows, Jesus in red and white, standing up, and Lazarus being raised from the tomb. We even see the stone tomb that he's coming out of, and his sisters Martha and Mary to our right, to the other side of Christ, and people in the background here. Jesus will raise Lazarus from the dead, and the authorities will be alerted to the threat that he now poses. Perfect prelude and perfect window before the Easter story on the other side. And chapter 6 in the life of Christ as we move around. The last prophet from the Old Testament, Ezekiel, which would be included with Daniel and Jeremiah and Isaiah from the Old Testament. Ezekiel, an exile prophet, and particularly noted for his prophetic voice in a new Jerusalem, has a blueprint in the picture. He's surrounded by red. These prophets are below the central medallion in each of the windows, not hard to find, not hard to identify. In his right hand, to our left, he holds this new Jerusalem, and then below him on the right, his left, is literally a blueprint of this new Jerusalem. The history medallion, which is at the bottom of this window, which we say goes all the way around the church, it is a little more spread out in the windows because there are several names to include. At the very bottom of the window, it says the Jesuit Martyrs of North America. There were 8 of them. The name most of us know is Isaac Jogues. He's prominent in the little black square at the bottom of the window surrounded in blue. All of these martyrs over a period of about 40 years in the late 1600s in upstate New York and Quebec, all of them Jesuit, in this case Jesuit martyrs, martyred by the Iroquois as they worked as missionaries in the mid to late 17th century, most of them in the late 1600s. Their names are all here in this lower window. We have St. Isaac Jogues and Anthony Daniel. Above them, St. John Lalande, René Goupil, and the names are there. They go up all the way to the top, and at the very top you could see Gabriel Lallemant. And in the Wood of the Cross narrative, in the top arched part of this last window on this side, if you look closely, you'll find a young woman kneeling. She has a crown on. Below her it says the Queen of Sheba. On her way to visit Solomon, so we've progressed a little bit from that, but not very far. On her way to visit Solomon, she discovers that she won't cross. She has a prophetic vision of the cross. She doesn't understand it, but she won't cross. The beam, the wood of this story, is across that stream, and she recognizes that she shouldn't be walking across it. She's taken her shoes off, and in the story she'll wade across the stream, but she won't step on this wood that's been discarded by Solomon because he can't make it fit in his temple anymore. The prophetic nature of her vision, we even have a small crucifix in the upper right up there in the background, which speaks to her vision, even though she doesn't quite understand it, of what will happen, and she tells Solomon about it, but she won't walk across that